I am Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Chelsea Michelle Cobo. Chelsea Michelle Cobo is a New York mother who has been missing since May 7th, 2016. Her case remains an active and ongoing investigation by the NYPD's Missing Persons Unit. Chelsea was last seen in Sunset Park, Brooklyn around 1:45 a.m. She had reportedly been dropped off at 68th Street after leaving a La Florita club. At the time of her disappearance, she was 22 years old and a mother of a 10-month-old son. She had recently lost her biological mother and was struggling with depression and drug addiction. Her adoptive mother, Rose Cobo, believes Chelsea may have been a victim of human trafficking or foul play. Rose has been a relentless advocate, working with private investigators and even creating an app to help find missing persons. So, that is all that they have on Chelsea Cobo. However, there's a lot of podcasts on her. I haven't looked at any of them yet. I think I clicked on about one of them and only watched about 2 minutes. And that was only, it was in the background of me getting everything together, getting ready to log on and do this case. Because like I've been saying in my recent readings, I'm going to stop watching a lot of podcasts and get straight to these readings. So, because I have a list of them. Now, I believe one of my subscribers and viewers, suggested Chelsea Cobo. And I want you to forgive me because I actually forgot who it was. Normally, I write down right next to the name who it was that suggested to me, but I don't know what I was doing when I wrote down Chelsea Cobo, but I didn't write down the name of my subscriber and viewer who suggested that. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe somebody suggested this. So let me know that you suggested it to me. So, because I do want to shout you out. So I like to give shout outs to my subscribers and viewers, okay, for suggesting content, because I appreciate you guys for suggesting content, because these are some very interesting stories. Okay, so I'm going to start pulling from my Astro Oracle, which is my OG. This is going to tell the whole story. I'm going to pull 4 cards on Chelsea Cobo from the Astro Oracle, and then I'm going to pull another 4 cards from my Talk About It deck, because it's going to tell me all about it. So let's pull 4 cards on Chelsea Cobo. What happened to Chelsea Cobo? I am a high-ranking Astro Oracle psychic. You are about to witness a high-ranking Astro Oracle investigation on Chelsea Cobo. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I drop my Astro Oracle investigations. Okay? I am pulling 4 cards on what happened to Chelsea Cobo, who was born November the 8th. I have her alignments in front of me, and I also have the planetary alignments of the day she disappeared right in front of me. She was born November 8th, 1993, and she disappeared May 7th, 2016. Arguably May 6th, 7th, between that time, the evening and the nighttime. So either way it goes, the moon was still in Taurus, whether it was the 6th or the 7th. So, and that's important for when I pull the charts. So let's pull 4 cards on Chelsea Cobo. What happened to Chelsea Cobo? What happened to Chelsea Cobo, who was born November 8th, 1993, who disappeared May 7th, 2016? What happened to Chelsea Cobo in 4 cards? What happened to Chelsea Cobo? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I see a friend's place. Aquarius is always the friend, the individual, the stranger as well. Okay, because you don't have to know Aquarius. But however, when Aquarius does come out, this energy right here is talking about a person, place, or thing. In this case, this Aquarian energy is attributed to a place. So this is a stranger's place, a friend's place. Now, an 11th house card came out. The 11th house is Aquarius's house. Now, this is an event that took place at this stranger's house, obviously. Okay? I believe this event was more than one person. Aquarius is also the group. So this is a place that people frequent. Frequent people go to this place. Now, it was said that her aunt, I think it was her aunt that raised her, because I think the brother of her aunt was Chelsea's biological father. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what I read. Okay. Now, she believes that Chelsea was a victim of human trafficking. If she is, these two cards will tell it. So we're going to see how these two cards connect the dots in the charts that I pull. And that's going to tell the story. Now, there's a first house person. Okay. This could be Chelsea. But if not, this is the person who came first that day. So we're going to look at the person who came first the day she disappeared. Okay, we're going to look at what that sign is. All right, and then we have a third house person that she was with in the local environment. The third house is the neighbor, somebody in the community, the local community. Okay, her immediate environment. The third house is also the house of siblings as well. Okay, now this third house person came out in reverse. So whoever she was with in her immediate environment represents foul play. Let's talk about it. I'm going to pull 4 cards from my talk about it. Tell me about Chelsea Cobo and what happened to her May 7th, 2016. Tell me about Chelsea Cobo. In 4 cards, tell me about what happened to Chelsea Cobo May 7th, 2016. In 4 cards, tell me about what happened to Chelsea Cobo in 4 cards May 7th, 2016. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, there was definitely a fight. All right? There was definitely a fight. Okay? I see a 4th house death. This could be the falling out of a family member. Okay? This could also be the death of a family member. We're going to see what's going on in the 4th house. The 4th house is the house of home and family. So there's definitely a domestic issue going on, a domestic fallout. Okay? But this could also be an actual physical death of a family member. Okay? So we're going to find out how this relates to the charts. Okay? Now, there is an enemy. We all have enemies. Okay? This enemy is this first person. Remember, this person also came out in the other deck. This person right here, we're going to look at who this enemy is, because this is her enemy. Okay? This person right here. Now, the first house is also the house of self. This could be Chelsea being her own enemy. So we're going to see. Either or. We're going to see. A second house victory. This is the second house is the house of money and material resources. And when victory comes out in the house of money, this is a financial victory. Chelsea was embarking on the opportunity to get money. This is a financial victory. This could be money that she already obtained. So she could have disappeared on purpose. Now, there is an 11th house challenge. Now, an 11th house card came out as an event from the Astro Oracle. These two have a lot to do with the same situation. This event was a challenge, and it had a lot to do with this place because Aquarius rules the 11th house. Now, Aquarius might not be in 11th house. We're going to look to see what sign is in the 11th house. And that sign is going to elaborate on this event as well as this challenge. And then we're going to look at where Aquarius is in the charts that get pulled, because that's going to tell the story about the event, the people, places, and things that were involved and that challenged Chelsea Cobo. So, Chelsea Cobo was born November 8th, 1993. On that day, the sun was in Scorpio and her moon was in Leo. When you put a Leo moon in Scorpio's house, which is the 8th house, Capricorn comes first. There goes the Leo moon right there in the 8th house of death, shared resources, sex. Okay? Now, this shows me that Chelsea Cobo had a strong sexual energy in her. Okay? Now, look at where Aquarius is. Aquarius is right here in the house of money. Okay? This Aquarius energy is the place that she was at, a place where she was able to make money. Now, she was last seen being dropped off at a club or being dropped off from a club. It says she had reportedly been dropped off at 68th Street after leaving the La Florita Club. So I believe she was with somebody when she left that club. Okay? And I believe she went to this person's place for a financial victory. Somebody offered Chelsea Cobo some money, but she met with foul play. And I believe this person right here is who she was with. Let's look to see what's in the third house. Pisces. But see, we'll find out what's in the third house the day she disappeared. Okay? Because that's going to tell the story. And we're also going to look at where Aquarius is the day she disappeared. But I do know, and I can see already from Chelsea's energy alone, that she was embarking on a financial opportunity. She had the opportunity to make some money and she ran with it. But however, shit went left and she met with foul play. We're going to find out, because this person that she met with foul play in the local environment was a hidden enemy. Okay? We're going to find out. Now, like I always tell you, I can't look in the birth chart to determine whether a person is dead or missing. But what I can do is look in the birth chart to determine that if they are missing, where it most likely started, and if they are dead, how it most likely started. The starting point of Chelsea Cobo's disappearance is always in the 12th house. Okay? Now, in the 12th house, I see Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the energy of a foreigner, someone foreign from Chelsea Cobo. Okay? Now, somebody of a different culture, of a different race, possibly somebody who speaks a different language from her. Okay? Marks the starting point of her disappearance. And it involves traveling, because Sagittarius represents travels. It represents long distance travels at that. Worldwide international travels. While Gemini, which rules the third house, rules local immediate travels in the local environment. So let's follow Jupiter to elaborate on her disappearance, because we know for sure Chelsea Cobo disappeared. Let me slow down. I'm moving too fast. Jumbling over my words. Chelsea Cobo, we know for a fact, disappeared. We don't know whether she's dead or not. But if she is dead, the starting point of her death would be Leo energy in the house of sex and death. So the starting point of what would most likely lead to her death would be something that has to do with a celebration. Now, she was last seen leaving a club. That's Leo activity. Okay? Some type of celebration, romantic experience. Leo rules the fifth house. What's going on in the fifth house? Taurus. Taurus is the energy of money and material. So I see human sex trafficking. Just in the birth chart alone, I already see that. Now let's see what comes out in the disappearance chart. Because whatever comes first is going to tell the story. Now, Chelsea disappeared May 7th, 2016. She disappeared under a new moon. That is when the sun and the moon is in the same exact sign, Taurus. So when you put a Taurus moon inside of Taurus's house, which is the second house, and see, look, we just got finished talking about her having sex, being involved in sex trafficking for money. And it just so happens that on the day she disappeared, May 7th, 2016, look what you see. Nothing but Taurus energy. Taurus Sun, Taurus Moon, Taurus Mercury, Taurus Venus. So yeah, sex trafficking for sure. For sure. Now, when you put Taurus Moon in Taurus's house, which is the second house, look what comes first. Aries. Now, Aries, where does Aries come from? Aries came from the fourth house of home and family. Now, there was a fourth house death. This is the house of the mother. This is the house of the mother, the home, and the family. Okay? Now, Aries is there. Now, this could be, because you got to know how to read the cards. Okay? Like I said, this could be the death of her mother. This could be the death of a family member. But this could also be the influence of a falling out with her mother is what influenced her disappearance. The falling out of a family member. Okay? Death always represents the falling out of something. And whatever house it's in represents what this something is made in the image of. The fourth house is the house of home, family, and the mother. So this death and falling out has a lot to do with Chelsea Cobo's home life. Let's elaborate on this fourth house. Now, in the fourth house of the day she disappeared, look what you see. The mother herself and Chelsea's family. Cancer is the home, family, and the mother, and so is the fourth house. Cancer is at home in the fourth house. Cancer's house is where you see Cancer. Everything in red represents whose house it is. Everything in black represents who's there. Okay? And like I said, Chelsea disappeared under a new moon. When a new moon is taking place, when the sun and the moon is in the same sign, that's when you don't see the moon outside. When you look up in the night sky and you can't find the moon, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, 99.999, it is a new moon. The sun and the moon is in the same exact position, which is why you cannot see the moon, because the earth is in between the sun and the moon. So, let's look at this. Now, under a new moon, hold on. What is a new moon? All right. A new moon is the first phase of the lunar cycle occurring when the moon is positioned between the earth and the sun. Okay, I had to clarify that because I said it's when the earth is between the sun and the moon. It's when the moon is positioned between the earth and the sun, which is why you cannot see it. All right, in this alignment, the side of the moon that faces the earth is completely in shadow, making it virtually invisible to the naked eye. Glad I clarified that. Now, because in astrology, we know that the new moon is when the sun and the moon is in the same sign. But when it comes to the actual alignments, physical, visible alignment, I got confused whether it was the earth between the sun and the moon or the moon between the sun and the earth. So now we know it's the moon is positioned between the earth and the sun. Okay, so I had to clarify that. Okay, I got to make sure everything is right and in detail. I'm a perfectionist. And no, I'm not a Virgo. I just have a strong perfectionism in me. So I got to make sure everything comes out right. So you see the home, family, and the mother in the fourth house, right? This has a lot to do with Chelsea's disappearance. Now, the moon rules Cancer. Let's follow the moon that day to elaborate on this falling out of the domestic arena. The moon that day was in Taurus. So this falling out of family affairs had a lot to do with money. Money is in its own house right here. Remember, under a new moon, everything is in its own house. So, this was a falling out with money. Why? Let's follow Venus because Venus rules Taurus. Venus that day was in Taurus. It was a falling out of money because of money. This was purely a money thing. This was about money. I feel like there wasn't no feelings involved. This was purely financial. Now, Chelsea's Venus is in Libra. So there is somebody else in the picture. Libra always represents the other person. So let's look at where this other person is. Okay? Libra is in its own house. This is literally somebody that Chelsea was in a relationship with. Let's find out where Libra was in Chelsea's energy. Now, in Chelsea's energy, Libra is in the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of the father. This is the house of a successful person in a position of authority. The 10th house is the house of law enforcement. It is the house of father figures. Okay? This is somebody that was successful. Now, I don't know too much about Chelsea Cobo's father, but this could very well be her in a relationship with her father. This could be a domestic fallout with the father and the mother or some type of relationship involved. Now, Chelsea's Venus is in Libra. And Venus that day she disappeared was in Taurus. Where's Taurus at in Chelsea's energy? It is right here in the house of children. Now, Chelsea has a child. What I see is the father, because remember, this is the house of the father. Why did her relationship come out in the house of the father, where Venus was in Taurus that day representing her children? This could be the father of Chelsea's child. That's what I see. And I'm sticking with that. Look what's in the 10th house the day she disappeared, the actual father. Okay? Now, look, Leo is the energy of children. Look where Leo is at. Leo is at home in the house of children. But see, in Chelsea's energy, Leo is in the 8th house of death, shared resources, and other people's children. So yeah, this is because the only other person that involved in Chelsea's child is the father. So I'm seeing the father. I'm seeing the father. Okay? Now, the father comes first in Chelsea's energy, which is who she was in a relationship with. Now, the father is in its own house. He's in his own house that day. Let's follow the father. Because I believe this is the father of her child. Saturn rules Capricorn. Where was Saturn at? Saturn was in Chelsea's Aquarius. Okay? Now, Saturn was in Aquarius in Chelsea's energy, but it was in Sagittarius the day she disappeared. Now, the day she disappeared, Sagittarius is right here in the foreign land. Okay? Ninth house is also not just foreign land. The ninth house is the house of churches, okay, colleges, institutions of higher knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is the house of foreigners. Okay? So this is a foreign individual. Now I don't know if the father of Chelsea's child is a foreign individual. I don't know that. Now this 11th house event. Look in the 11th house. What do you see? Aquarius. And Aquarius came out, right? So this is a group conscious event, which 9 times out of 10 has a lot to do with sex trafficking. Okay? Let's follow Uranus, because Uranus rules Aquarius and the 11th house. Uranus, that day she disappeared, was in Aries. And Aries comes first. You can't make this up. So, yes, this was about sex trafficking and human trafficking. Now, if you follow Mars, because Mars rules Aries, Mars that day was in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is right here in the house of foreign affairs. If Chelsea is not dead, she left the country. International travel. Mars in Chelsea's energy is in Scorpio. Scorpio is right here in the house of death, which makes me believe that as of this alignment, Chelsea Cobo is no longer with us. Because Mars led us to Sagittarius the day she disappeared, and it's in the international house of international affairs. But Mars in Chelsea's energy is in Scorpio. Lets me know that Chelsea is dead, because Scorpio is the energy of death and it's in its own house. The 8th house is Scorpio's house where Chelsea is dead. Now, Scorpio in Chelsea's actual chart is in the 11th house. You cannot make this up. It's that 11th house event that involved her being at this individual's place where she was getting money. Right here. Right here, where she was getting money. You cannot make that up. The first house person came out. I believe there's more than one person. I believe the father of her child is involved, but there's another person involved as well. In the first house, you see Aries. In Chelsea's first house, you see Capricorn, the father. Right? Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn that day was in Sagittarius, the foreigner. And Chelsea Saturn is in Aquarius. That's why I see two different people. I see the father of her child in the picture, but I also see another individual in the picture as well. And we need to elaborate on this other individual in the picture. Now, this third house person that she met in the local environment, which is Gemini in its own house, Gemini energy. This is a person in that local environment. Where did Gemini come from? We're going to find out in Chelsea's chart. Gemini came from the 6th house of work. This could have been somebody that worked at the place that she was at, that club. Also, Gemini represents local travel. Now remember, she was last seen being dropped off at 68th Street from this club. So this could have been a taxi cab driver or an Uber driver or a Lyft driver. Somebody who is giving her a ride. That is exactly what this energy is. And they was traveling in the local environment. Okay? This person, she met with foul play. Okay? Now, who seen her get dropped off? Who is telling them this story? Who seen her get dropped off? Now, hold up. Gotta ask questions. Chelsea Cobo. All right, now, last seen. Chelsea then 22 was last seen in Sunset Park, Brooklyn around 1:45 a.m. She reportedly got into a taxi. You see, it didn't say that the first time. You see, she reportedly got into a taxi. I just got finished. It had to be a taxi or Uber or somebody that was giving her. Now it's making fucking sense. It's making sense. Around 1:45 a.m., she was reportedly got into a taxi or was dropped off near 68th Street. Yes, that person is this person right here. That is this person right here. She disappeared shortly after being discharged from a hospital. Hold up now, I didn't read this the first time either. She disappeared. You know, when you constantly type in the name and you go to AI, it shows up the same information from different angles. So let me reread this now because it might be on to something. She disappeared shortly after being discharged from a hospital where she, oh, and the sixth house is the house of hospitals. Y'all, I'm catching the Holy Ghost. Hold on. I almost got tears in my eyes. Hold on now. Because it's making sense. The sixth house is the house of hospitals. Make sure y'all are utilizing my tutorial too. This is making fucking sense. Yes, she was okay. She disappeared shortly after being discharged from a hospital where she had checked in for depression following her biological mother's death. I knew it. I told you. This fourth house has something to do with her mother's death. I don't know whether her mother died before Chelsea disappeared or after, but now we know for sure. And it came out. It came out. It came out. Now I know what it feels like when them people in church be catching the Holy Ghost and they be jumping all around. That's what I got. All right. Now, it's this AI mode is making sense. The first one made sense too, but this is giving more information that also came out in the cards. That's this death right here. All right. Let's keep going. Let me calm down so we can keep going. She disappeared shortly after being discharged from a hospital where she had checked in for depression following her biological mother's death. Her family believes she may have been targeted by individuals, Aquarius, individuals she met during her hospital stay. Okay. And subsequently trafficked. Makes a lot of fucking sense. Where's Mercury? Because Mercury rules Gemini. This ride from the hospital in the local environment. Okay, now we on to something. Mercury and Chelsea's energy was in Scorpio, the energy that killed her. Yes. And the day she disappeared, Mercury was in Taurus. Money. Yes. We got it. We got it. We got it. Yes. All right. We got it. Let's find her body. Let's cut straight to it. Where is the body of Chelsea Cobo? The body of Chelsea Cobo. Man, I got the Holy Ghost in me now. I got the Chelsea Cobo ghost in me. Yes, because we're on to this. We're on to that. Now, this says her body is in a remote area east of where she was last seen. In a remote area east. A remote area is an area where there's a lot of land. It's like abandoned land. Hold on. What is a remote area? Y'all, we know what a remote area is. I'm just in the spirit. A remote area is a geographic location far from cities, major population centers, and basic infrastructure. Unlike rural areas, which are often defined by agriculture and small town life, remote areas are characterized by extreme isolation and difficulty of access. Her body is in a remote area, hidden, off in the area where it's not easy to access. It's going to take them some time to find her body, okay? Because it's in a very remote area. I believe this. And that's my reading on Chelsea Cobo, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. That's my reading on Chelsea Cobo, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. They need to question the people from that hospital. They need to find out that that taxi driver that she left with. Let me see if there's any evidence. Is there any evidence that will surface that will lead us and give us information on Chelsea Cobo's disappearance and death? I do know that she's dead. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Chelsea Cobo is no longer with us. Now, is there any evidence of Chelsea Cobo's disappearance and death? Evidence. Pure evidence. And the disappearance and death of Chelsea Cobo. Evidence. What is this? Biological evidence in the 12th house. Now, let's see what's going on in the 12th house. Biological evidence is actually her body. Okay? My Astro Oracle Index. Biological evidence is their body. Blood, saliva. Okay? Here we go. Yep. See, I got my Astro Oracle Index. Okay? Biological evidence: blood, saliva, semen, hair, body fluids, other tissues, clothes, and skin. When they find her body, it's the evidence of who did it is going to be on her body. That's why that card came out in the 12th house. Okay? And I'm going to also show you why that card came out from the 12th house, biological evidence. Because the 12th house is Pisces' house. Pisces is actually at home, okay, in its own house. But look where Pisces was in Chelsea Cobo's energy. Pisces is right here in the 3rd house, which is where she was traveling in this taxi from the hospital. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Perfect sense. It's hidden in that car as well. Okay? Perfect sense. Perfect sense. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio. Okay? Pluto rules Scorpio. We're going to follow the energies of death. Pluto rules Scorpio and the sun rules Leo. Where was Pluto the day she disappeared? Pluto was in Capricorn, that authority figure. Right here, the father figure. All right? And Pluto in Chelsea's energy was in Scorpio. That's who killed her. Right? Now, let's follow the sun. The sun, the day Chelsea disappeared, was in Taurus. Okay? Money. Okay? Where was Taurus at? Right here in the house of money. All right? Somebody could have paid somebody to kill Chelsea. I see two people. I told you I'm seeing two people, the father and I'm seeing another person. Let me go to my Who deck. Okay? Because I thought this reading was over, but it's not. Okay? Because, yeah. Who? Who? Because I'm seeing more than one person. Who's involved in the disappearance and death of Chelsea Cobo? Who's involved in the disappearance and death of Chelsea Cobo? Who's involved in the disappearance and death of Chelsea Cobo? May 7th, 2016. This is who? A stranger in the 9th house. I believe that. I believe that. Because like I tell you, this stranger is also Aquarius energy. And in the 9th house is where this Sagittarius is at. Sagittarius individual. And see, that's where Mars was the day she disappeared. This is a foreign stranger. Somebody who speaks a different language from Chelsea. Somebody who is of a different culture. Okay? From Chelsea. Now, but somebody else is in the picture too. I feel like the father of her child knows something. as well. But this stranger right here in the ninth house. Now, in Chelsea's ninth house, look what you see. Virgo. Virgo rules the sixth house. That's the person who picked her up from the fucking hospital. That is the person who picked her up because the sixth house is Virgo's house. In every chart, sixth house, you see Virgo's house. And Virgo is actually there. That's the person who picked her up from the hospital. Yes, this stranger right here. Yep. They need to go back to that day. Since they seem to know who dropped her off, somebody knows that she got dropped off. The person who dropped her off is the person responsible. It's that simple. It is that simple. They exchange numbers. I don't even think Chelsea got dropped off, but they exchanged numbers. Somehow they linked up again. That's the person responsible. They need to track down the person that dropped her off, picked her up from that hospital. That is who did it. That's my reading on Chelsea Cobo, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to that. I'm sticking to that. Took her body over into a remote area east of where she was last seen. And that person's biological evidence is going to be on Chelsea Cobo's body. Yep. It's hiding on her body. Yep. Because look, that's where the ninth house stranger is. You see that, right? You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. The stranger that came out in the ninth house. Yep. Right there. And that's where this biological evidence is. Right there. On him, in his car, and on her body. Yep. Y'all be blessed.